In this lesson, I will show you how to create a rain effect using N particles. First, we need to create a camera and load the image. So I will go to create and then cameras and then camera. And then I will go to the attribute editor and I will scroll down, and under the environment, I will click on image plane. And then I will click on this icon and then I will load the street. I will give you this image, okay? And I will click on open. So now the image loaded in the viewport. So now let's create the ground. I will go to create and then polygon primitives and then plane, and I will scale the plane a little bit, something like that, and I will scale it on Z to match the street. And then I will go to panels, and then I will go to perspective and then camera 1. And now I will move the camera and rotate that to match the shape or to align the plane to the street. Something like that, okay? Okay, so now I will go to perspective view, and now I will go to FX tab, and now I will go to N particles and create an emitter. Before I click on create emitter, make sure you change that to point, or you can change that later. So I will click on create emitter option box and then reset the settings. I want to change the emitter type to volume, and then I will click on create. So now I will scale the volume and move it up a little bit and scale it on Z and X to match the ground, something like that. Okay, so I will move it up a little bit. Okay, so now if I hit play, now you see we have some particles. Okay, so but as you see, the particles are not colliding with the ground. So I will select the plane and then I will go to enclose and then I will click on create passive collider. So now the ground is colliding with the particles. Okay, so and I will select the ground and I can increase the bounce effect about 0.2. Let's see the result of that. Okay, something like that. So now we need to create the collision event. So what I want to do is to make the particle, when it collides with the ground, splits to several particles. So we can do that by selecting the particles and then shift and select the ground, and then I will go to N particles and then I will click on particle collision event editor. Okay, so now here you see I have the event type, I have emit and split. I want to split the particle. So what this does will kill the original particle and split it to several particles here. Okay, so I can define how much particles I want to split every particle when collides with the ground. So in my case, I will leave that to 10, and the spread, the amount that the particles will be spread after the collision. Okay, I will leave that to 0.52, and make sure you check that on 2. This will give some random particles. So I will click on create event. Okay, and now let's rewind that and hit play. Let's see. As you see, we have some particles colliding with the ground, and now the particle, when hits the ground, splits to several particles, as you see. Okay, so we need to change the amount of the particles. So I will select the particles and I will go to emitter, and then I will increase that about 400, and let's hit play and see. Okay, so now as you see, if I hit play, the particles, when splits, remains on the ground. I want them to die after 1 second, for example. So I will select the N particle 2. By the way, this N particle 2 generated after the N particle 1 hits the ground. Okay, so what's happening when the N particle 1 hits the ground, the second particle generated in Maya. Okay, so we need to select the second N particle. So, and now in the attribute editor, in the N particle 2 shape, So I will go to lifespan and I will change that to random range. I want to give some random age to them, or lifespan 0.1. So some particles will die after 0.5 second too. So this will give nicer result. So now if I hit play, actually they are dying too fast, so let's set that to 2 and let's hit play again and see. Again they are dying too fast, so let's set to 6. Okay, let's set that to 5. I think it's better. Okay, as you see. So now as you see, the rain is points, right? You can leave that as points, but when you render, you need to enable the motion blur in the render settings, okay? But we want to see the rain effect in the viewport. So I can fake that by selecting the particles, and then I will go and scroll down. Notice I selected the end particle 1. This is the end particle 1, okay? And in the shading, I will go, where is the shading? Here is the shading, and I will change that to streak. So now this will give us some lines, okay? As you see, we can increase the line size by coming here and set that to 1.5, for example. Okay. And let's decrease the opacity to 0.5. And let's see. Okay, great. And let's make the particles fall a little bit faster by going to end particle, to the nucleus. And in the nucleus, I will increase the gravity about 16. This will make the rain fall faster. Okay. And let's select now the particle 2 and then go to the opacity and decrease the opacity to 0.52 or 0.3. And let's decrease the point size to 1. Okay, this is much more beautiful. So I will increase the opacity to 0.6, or let's set that to 0.8. Okay, so now let's go to the camera and let's hide the plane, Ctrl and H, and let's see the result. Okay, we can move the camera a little bit more, something like that. And now let's hide the enrigid because I don't want to see these icons in the viewport, and the nucleus too. Okay, let's minimize the attribute editor and let's hide the ground. Okay, great. So let's create a play blast by going to Windows and then play blast. Okay, AVI, and the quality is 100 and the scale is 1, and let's hit play blast. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to apply what you learned in this lesson. So see you in the next lesson.